What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to this Friday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Hrelja. Today we talk about how you should be handling Dak Prescott's card market, and once we're done with that, we need to talk about the NBA Summer League, because I think what we're seeing right now will have an impact on the sports card market heading into the fall. So first, let's talk about Dak and the Cowboys, because it feels like that's all people are talking about in sports media right now. As soon as Dak Prescott first got back on the field from that gruesome ankle surgery, which we actually found out in the first episode of Hard Knocks, that he didn't only have one ankle surgery, Dak actually ended up having a second one that the media never found out about. So when we're looking at Dak Prescott heading into this training camp, all people have been talking about is the ankle. And as soon as he got back on the field and was showing people that his legs look great, he now gets his shoulder injury, which has thrown a curveball in his card market, because over the last month, we've seen his cards going up in price with people anticipating him being on the field for week 1 against Tampa completely healthy. And we look at his card market, this is exactly what was happening. His Silver Prism rookie card PSA 10 was $750 4 weeks ago. And then we look back 2 weeks ago, before the news of the shoulder injury, this card was $900. We look at that card today, it's back down to about $780. We look at his Optic Base rookie card PSA 10. It was $300 2 weeks ago. Now it's selling for $230. And I think if we're looking at his card market, the number one thing you need to realize, if we look at his card market from last August to this August, the number one window to buy his cards and make money is not right now. The number one window to make money on the sports cards was buying in last October and November during the middle of the season, which, number one, to begin with, tends to be the lowest point for football cards. But on top of that, Dak had a gruesome injury and the Cowboys were awful, and nobody wanted to touch his stuff. And that's when his cards dropped 80% in price. If you bought his cards then, you were up 2-3x from when you bought in. But if you bought in since the NFL draft happening a few months ago, you're probably about even on your investment, and you're probably worried about how you should be handling the situation. And I have a couple main reactions to the situation. First, I don't think that the shoulder injury is going to be anything significant. People were worried about it about a week ago, but now just a couple days ago, we saw Dak on the field throwing around with Amari Cooper, who's also recovering from injury, and it looks like he's going to be just fine. There's been no reports of Dak feeling pain in the shoulder still, but just because he's getting a second MRI, people are panicking again. Jane Slater, who's the best reporter for the Cowboys, the best inside source, she said on Monday he's getting a second MRI, which is making people nervous, thinking that there might be more serious damage. There's been no information over the last 96 hours that have given me any inclination to believe this to be true. It looks like Dak Prescott is getting better every single day and feeling better, and the season doesn't start for another month. So when Dak gets his second MRI on Monday, and if it comes back clean, we're going to have a 4-week runway where the shoulder injury is no longer a concern. Dak is on the field showing that his ankle is no longer a concern, and we're going to have everybody getting excited about America's team playing that opening Thursday night kickoff game against the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady. So my belief is that this little dip that we've seen with Dak Prescott cards over the last 2 weeks since we've heard about the shoulder injury, I believe that this is going to reverse and we're going to see his cards trend up until opening day of the season. But I'm going to stress that again. I believe that Dak Prescott cards are going to go up in price until the start of the season. After that is going to rely heavily on player performance. Dak Prescott is 28 years old. He just signed a massive contract to be the long-term quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys. With that is a blessing, and at the exact same time, it's a curse. Because if Dallas goes out there and wins week 1 against Tampa, his cards are not going to stop rising. If we look at the NFC East, he's the only quarterback that you could genuinely rely on. Are you going to rely on Ryan Fitzpatrick to have 2 good seasons in a row? It's never happened before. Are you going to rely on Daniel Jones to have a breakout season? Or are you going to rely on Jalen Hurts? Philly's head coach is reluctant to even announce Jalen Hurts to be the starter. So we're looking at the Cowboys, an amazing week 1 opportunity. It's going to come a lot of hype. But at the exact same time, if we see any kind of discomfort with the shoulder, any kind of discomfort with the ankle, we're going to see his card prices drop. And don't think for a second that there's going to be a hard floor for his cards. Because when Dak Prescott got hurt last season and the Cowboys were looking bad, and everybody had something negative to say about him, his cards dropped 75 to 80%. So if you bought Dak cards over the offseason anytime towards the end of 2020, you're up a ton right now. And if you don't want to deal with the shoulder nonsense, you could sell his cards today and make a massive profit. If you bought his cards over the last 3 or 4 months, you're probably better off waiting 2 or 3 weeks for the season anticipation to continue to build up and then sell his cards. Or if you really believe in Dak and the Cowboys, you believe they're going to win the division, you believe they're going to win the conference, you can hold these cards for the next few months, and I'm sure they'll perform great. Because when the Cowboys are playing well, everybody loves them. But when the Cowboys are playing bad, No team gets more negative attention. We look at this Cowboys offense. Ezekiel Elliott has come into the preseason looking really good. He's lost weight, looks really in shape for the first time in a few years. If we look at the wide receiver trio of the Dallas Cowboys, I believe it's the best in the league. You have Michael Gallup, who I believe is the worst of the three, who has Pro Bowl potential and is in a contract season, who's highly motivated. You have CeeDee Lamb in year 2, ready to break out. And you have him not only playing in the slot this season, but supposedly playing on the outside too. And then you have Amari Cooper, who I understand in some big games he doesn't show up, but Amari Cooper, ever since he's been to the Cowboys, has worked very well with Dak. And if we look at that defense, Micah Parsons, the Cowboys' first-round pick, is supposedly looking great, looked great in that first preseason game, has been looking great in training camp. Supposedly that kid's going to be a stud. So the Cowboys are the favorite to win the NFC East, and I believe that they're going to ride this momentum into the season. If you're a holder of Dak cards, Zeke cards, I think you're going to do well over the month of August. But come September, you're going to need to perform on the field for these car prices to make sense, and I actually think the Cowboys have the talent to do so. Now, shifting over to basketball, the NBA Summer League has been an absolute pleasure to watch over the last week, and I have one main takeaway on the draft class as a whole, and then I have one main takeaway for what I think is going to happen with the sports car market in terms of this rookie class. If we're just looking at the pure talent, I've been pleasantly surprised, and I believe that this draft class is going to be objectively better than last year's 2020 class. Besides LaMelo and Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman, if he's healthy, there's nobody else in this draft class that really excites me. But if we're looking at the 21 class, Cade Cunningham has superstar potential. We look at Jalen Green, he for sure has superstar potential. We look at guys like Scotty Lewis, Jalen Suggs, how they've been doing in the summer league. We look at someone like Chris Duarte, who's been impressive for Indiana. And then we look at someone like Jonathan Kuminga, who at only 18 years old is proving to everybody that he has the skill at the moment, not just potential in the future, but the ability this year to have an impact for the Golden State Warriors as they attempt to get back to the top of the West. So if we're looking at this draft class as a whole, I've been impressed. And why are we talking about this? Because the most fun thing to do with sports cards is to invest in young rookies and speculate on the future. We all love to do it, no matter how much we hate on it, no matter how some people say that the prices don't make sense at times. And over time, if we look at most of these young prospects, the card prices tend to go down for most of them. But if you could jump on a prospect and they become a superstar, you can make a massive return on that investment, and that's why everybody loves getting involved in the game. And if we're looking at this rookie class, the bad news is you won't be able to buy any cards of them in an NBA jersey for at least a few more months. If we look at the cards in a college uniform, like Contenders and Chronicles and Draft Pick Prism, those cards should start releasing in September. But you really shouldn't be jumping on those because collectors in the long term only want cards that the player wears in their NBA uniform. So if you want to buy an amazing rookie card of Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, any of these guys, you're going to have to wait, which could be annoying because if there's a prospect that you believe that you could buy cheap right now that nobody's paying attention to, and if you could have bought his cards before the season starts, if he plays well over the first couple weeks of the season, you'd be able to make a nice profit. But by the time releases like Prism and Optic happen, we're going to already be in game action. People are already going to know which rookies are doing something, which ones aren't. And obviously a player can develop or regress during the course of the season, and the market's going to move because of that. But I would love to see some of these main releases happening before the actual season starts. And I do have one overall theory for this draft class that I think is different than previous years just because of the dynamic shift. If we look at the two players in this summer league that have impressed me the most, Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga, both of them have one common trait. They both skipped college and went to the NBA G League. And I believe that since they went to the G League, which I believe is the reason why they look so great and confident in the summer league right now. Instead of playing in college, they've been working out for a year, playing against grown men who play basketball for a living. And I think if we just watch how they play, we watched Cade Cunningham play against Jalen Green, and Jalen Green looked more comfortable out there. He looked poised. He was getting to his spots. He knew what he was doing. And obviously, Cade Cunningham looked great, but he has had some bad moments in the summer league where he's still trying to get comfortable, which is normal for a rookie. So if we're looking at Kuminga, we're looking at Jalen Green, I believe when the season starts, they're going to be playing very good from the jump because they're going to be more comfortable playing this NBA-style game that the college guys are still trying to get used to. Being a rookie in the NBA is tough. We've seen over the last few years watching how these rookies play, how their card prices move. It really isn't smooth sailing for anybody unless your name's Zion Williamson or Luka Doncic, and even those guys had some growing pains in their first year in the league. So if we're looking at these rookies, I think that the ones that are going to impress the most early on are going to be the ones that play in the G League, most notably Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. And then you might have some guys, someone like Scotty Barnes, who's still a really raw player, tons of potential, but he might take a little bit more time to get used to the NBA game. And the reason why I'm talking about all of this is because by the time we get releases like Prism, Optic, Select, we will have seen all of these players play for at least a couple weeks, and we'll already start to get a feel for who has true potential, who still has a lot to work on. And I think it's going to create a very interesting dynamic because I think we might have a few players that get off to a slower start than others, where it might create a really good buying opportunity to snag up some of these guys' cards. Obviously, when the time comes, I'll be telling all of you guys about this, but for now, just know that if you really want a Jalen Green, any of these guys' cards, you're going to have to wait a little while. And if we're looking at the 2020 draft class with LaMelo, Edwards, Wiseman, we still have releases happening. Optic Basketball, Mosaic Basketball, NT just dropped this week, so there's tons of stuff still happening with those cards. And just like I said a few months ago, it was not the right time to jump into Prism Basketball for this rookie class. You needed to wait for more supply to hit the market, for there to be more options for people to collect rookie cards. And this is exactly what we've seen. LaMelo, Edwards, Wiseman, their cards have started to come down to earth, where I think you can now buy 2020 rookie cards and not really be worried about the price dropping solely because of more product being out there. I think a lot of these guys have probably floored out for the offseason, and we're going to see price increases for guys that gain a lot of anticipation heading into next season. So I appreciate you listening to this Friday edition of the Vover Sports Card Show. I am your host, Frank Hrelja, and I'll see you guys on Monday.